You already know, you know what we about, you know what we do. As one Crookshank, your one and only Move Swiftly speaker, checking in for a daily Move Swiftly thought, giving you a perspective on teamwork that you will not get anywhere else. Recording this February 25th, 2024, the day after I attended a track meet, man. A track meet. It's so great going to these track meets because it brings back so many memories. You know, this group, the age group, it was a ton of youth clubs out there, and the age group ran all the way from kindergarten, like not actually before, like 5 years old, all the way to 18. And you just saw athletes, and you just saw pride. You saw a lot of culture when it comes to these track meets, man. It was right there, Dwyer High School yesterday, and the brand of the company that hosted the entire meet is a company called Speed Capital. And that just, having that conversation with them, knowing of how active I am in the NIL world and looking for collegiate athletes and things like that. I didn't go specifically to network. I went because one of my students was actually competing in the 400 and the 200. But I said, again, being in the business that I'm in, as I normally tell you guys, look, I'm not doing my job if I'm not making sure I'm getting some contacts, reaching out to people, making sure I'm following up with people, whether it's social media, whether it's through email, whether it's just getting some business cards, or just even going to an event, asking questions, figuring out how I'm able to maybe implement my business, implement what they're about, and how we can create some synergy to make the road for the next athlete just a little bit easier for you guys to understand how important it is to really, first of all, get it done in the classroom, but more so develop the mental toughness to go out there and compete in the real world, or compete in any kind of environment. It's all mindset. It's all toughness. That's the one thing that was really triggered and really thought of as I was watching every last one of these runners come around the track. It's all mental toughness. It's all mindset. Whether you're coming in first or you're coming in last, it was all about, okay, how much do I really want this thing? How bad do I really want this thing, right? All right, and that brings me to today's Move Swiftly thought in terms of just track in general and the importance of getting yourself involved in track. And you are never, ever, ever, ever too old to join a track team or to develop a lifestyle of running. If you keep up with these videos, you already know I'm living proof example. 35 years old, and I still every Wednesday go to Jupiter High School and work out. My trash talking trackies. We do a track workout, and there's some who are more advanced than others. We just going out there competing and working hard and things of that nature because of the synergy and how much it helps us throughout the day, right? So I remember I want to take you back a little bit because this was, I remember actually when I first, I'm Caribbean, so between track and field and soccer are the sports that dominate my culture and dominate the places in which I've come from and things of that nature. My family knows more about track and soccer than they do about American football. American football is what I brought into the family, right? So I remember when I got signed up to run for the Gideonites, the track and field Gideonites, man. We had a Trini coach. My family's from Trinidad and Tobago, so I'm Trini American. And we had a coach named Coach Chapman. And I guess he was a friend of the family, as we growing up in Silver Spring, Maryland. Once you meet your crew of Trini people, you kind of migrate and you kind of find each other or whatever. So I guess my father heard that he was coaching a track club named the Gideonites, and they signed me up to do it. And I remember the first day of practice. It was the first day of practice where they had just registered me. And again, I was opposite. I was complete opposite of the mindset I have now because I was just sticking to football. And why I give the advice I give these days is because had I decided to stick with track through those years, I know for a fact that my playing career as a football player would have been just a lot better than it actually turned out. So this is why I give the advice I give now, so you guys can, do better than me. It's all about, teaching the next generation of athletes to do better than I did. That's why I tell my sister, to my nephew, my niece, all that all the time, right? So I remember it was the first practice with the Gideonites, right? And there was a football coach who was helping out with the track team. I'll never forget this. I'll never forget this piece of advice because this same piece of advice came up yesterday when I was one of the people that we met yesterday. He also played football and he was given the same advice, but he played out here in South Florida, and it was almost like universal, right? Unilateral, the same kind of advice, because he goes, look, on the football field, when things are getting tough, you can look to your left, you can look to your right, and you can see teammates with you that's going to help you out. You can look at your coach, you can get the right play, you can understand things, you can just see the way other people are moving. When it comes to track, you don't have that. When it comes to track, you got to be the one to go out there and compete and see how bad you really want it in yourself. So it's a self battle. It's a mental self battle. And I will never, ever forget, this was the first time I met this guy. Now, as I got older, and I remember it was my senior year in high school, and I was looking for schools. I was struggling. I was trying to get recruited and all that kind of stuff. And I remember we went to this recruiting event. It was at a church, and there was a bunch of college coaches setting up their stands and all that kind of stuff. And I remember seeing that same coach. I guess he was helping out with another program or helping out with another kid or whatever. Excuse me. And I remember I overheard, he didn't remember who I was, but I damn sure remembered his face because of that piece of advice, right? So I remember he was like sitting at the table over, so I overheard him talking, and because of his voice resonated with me and his face and all that, I remember him saying that on the highlight tape of whatever kid they were talking about football-wise, he goes, I have some of his track stuff on there too. I put his track stuff on there. I made sure, wow. That sunrise. Oh my goodness, that's lovely, isn't it? But to get back to the story, so I made sure some of his track stuff was on there, so the coaches see everything, and he's not just a football player and all that kind of stuff makes him a little more valuable of a prospect. All right. So that's basically in a nutshell today's Move Swiftly thought, is understanding the importance of self-promotion and what track and a lot of these individual sports teach in terms of self-promotion. I'm not telling you not to do your main sport, which could be the baseball, the football, the basketball, the lacrosse, the soccer, the team sports. The team sports are great. That's the greatest thing in the world, in my opinion. But it's very important that you do make the attempt and dive into those individual sports as well. All right. Main website to check out to dive deeper into all my work, MakeYaMove.com. That's MakeYaMove.com. Do not forget, every Sunday we going live. We're talking NIL, we're talking transfer portal, we're figuring out the best ways to navigate all of that kind of stuff, and have just a lineup of some really, really incredible guests, and they'll be announced soon as we go along. Give you the website again one more time, MakeYaMove.com. That's MakeYaMove.com. One-stop shop for your teamwork and your self-development needs. As one Crookshank, your one and only Move Swiftly speaker, checking out. You guys continue to move swiftly. We will talk more soon.